especially with the markets that we have gone through in the last, 3 years? So we'll get a glimpse of that. What'd you call them of Culpeper? What'd you say a couple weeks ago? I think you said the Chip and Joanna of Culpeper?
Yeah.
There we go. We spent a little bit of time with Angela and DJ already before the show started, and I can tell you, HGTV should come a-calling because I think you guys would make a fantastic TV show. And wait till you guys see them, guys. If you have questions about the home building process, put them in the feed, or we'll relay them live on air. One of the things Keith Smith is going to acknowledge when the show starts is he's in a different seat, and it's throwing him off a little bit. I think that's something that he's going through his brain. I can already tell. I know my man here. Give props to Judah Wickower, the man behind the scenes who keeps us live and on air. Judah, I think we're ready to rock and roll. Live programming at its finest. We're about to see it.
I like this. I can see what's going on the computer over here.
Yeah. The TV. He's going to count us in. Good Wednesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk with Keith Smith. Thank you kindly for joining us. We're live on every social media platform known to mankind on a show today that's presented by Ross Mortgage and our good buddy Scott Morris. Scott Morris and Ross Mortgage will help you get to the finish line, guys. If you're buying a vacation home, if you're buying a personal residence, an investment property, are looking to refinance a loan product. Scott Morris and Ross Mortgage. Judah Wickower is our director. He should get applauded and accoladed for what he does every single day, mainly dealing with my neurotic, crazy personality and temperament. Such is the life of a small business owner, I suppose. Keith Smith, speaking of crazy, neurotic temperaments, is in-house here. The first zing has already happened.
It's a very distinguished neurosis.
I know, it is. That's why we love him. That's why we love him. We do genuinely very much love you.
Whatever.
He's the star of the show. His website, Real Talk with Keith Smith. How are you, my friend?
This is show 424. I don't think I've ever sat in this seat before, so, we'll see how it goes. When you reach a certain age,
you don't like change.
You don't like it. Well, it's not that you don't like change. Change just kind of takes a little bit longer to get used to. But I'm excited about today because those who watch the show know that I'm a recovering developer and builder. I like to say that I'm on my 10th step of my 12-step recovery program. But in reality, I'm probably at my first step. I haven't recognized that I have a problem yet. But I'm going to hand it off to the fine gentleman to my left and let them introduce our fine guests for today, and then we've move on from there.
Thank you. We've got DJ and Angela Moberly from Culpeper and Inspired Homes. And if you guys would, tell us a little bit about yourselves.
You going first? Or me?
You go first.
Me go first. Okay. I'm DJ Moberly, owner-builder, Inspired Home Building. Second-generation builder. My dad was a builder out of Culpeper for over 30 years. He still maintains his license. He's currently residing in Des Moines. Talk to him on a daily basis. That's a nutshell.
And I'm Angela, the other half or better half, I guess, depending on
better
who you
half.
talk
Much
to.
better half. That's
And I am known as the bully of the business, so I don't really know. I guess that depends also who you talk to, but I don't think I'm that mean.
What's the bully of the business do?
Whatever's needed.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
So my wife and I have been married for 37 years, and we work together every day for 37 years. So let's start off with that. What is that like, working together as a couple? I know what it's like for us, and it's funny you mentioned this bully thing. We do good cop, bad cop all the time.
I've seen it.
He's seen it firsthand. Has seen it, and he never really knows which one is bad cop or good cop until it shows up. So, what's it like working together as a couple?
You want to go, or you want?
I think stab.
This is your opportunity to get it.
She'll
The
tell me
day
where I'm
after
wrong.
Valentine's Day, you got to get this one right.
Oh yeah.
No, honestly, so we have developed a rhythm. We've been married for 18 years, so we have really developed a rhythm. You see all these shows where you have the husband and wife, and you see a lot of conflict. We don't have that much conflict. We have some conflict. But I feel like it's pretty minimal.
Yeah.
Most recently, she had wanted me to build a barn door for a project we're working on, and she gave me a picture of the barn door. And I thought I did a fine job, but it wasn't at all good
You guys
enough.
do a
So
lot of barn doors.
We do. That's kind of one of
do.
our things. So
Yeah,
we make
yeah.
custom barn doors.
Yeah.
And so she's like, no, I want you to basically rip it apart and build it back again. And I wasn't too happy about that at first, but it is nicer now.
Yeah.
than it
I
was
think,
before.
Keith, kind of like what you were saying, it's learning how to communicate, right? And that can carry over even with like our more custom clients. So you're learning. With us, we've had the privilege of being married and working, so you learn how to better communicate. And so sometimes your, short phrases is interpreted certain ways, and like picking out products or whatever. For the most part, there's a lot of trust. So that can be good and bad, I guess, when it comes to being the bully, because
I
there's
find
no
it-
filter, and so sometimes, communicating can be nuanced, but I think we do well.
Part of it is too, we kind of have our own little wheelhouse. We've figured out, like, so she has her things that she does, and I have my things that I do, and so that helps a lot.
We also have to give a shout out to our team, which is why we're here, because we are a small builder. We're not a production builder. So we have our family of staff that are running the show right now, and Brittany Emerson is our project and sales manager, and so she's, part of why we're so successful, and also Drew Paul Hammis, who helps, keep all of the subs and stuff in
As our
line,
superintendent.
and yeah, he does our superintendent, and then also our great family of subs. Keith, I know you can relate to that, like that's.
So that you know, the gentleman to my left actually used to work for me.
Get out of here.
Wait, let me rephrase that. I paid him.
Whether or not he was working.
I collected a check.
Yeah, and here you guys are. That's a true
Yeah.
testament.
And they still sit
Yes.
next to each other. I
Yeah,
know. I
right,
love that.
Right, yeah, because it can kind of go both ways. Like it could be, I never want to see your face again. Don't ever come.
Nah,
come
nah.
I've got somebody else from that time who's on my we have a lunch scheduled every Wednesday. He owns and operates a very successful high-end renovation company here in Charlottesville, and he continued work on that path, and I decided that I was in it more for the destruction, not construction. So I found something else to do.
Demo day.
And now you're
yes.
crushing it.
Yeah.
The branch manager guys
So-
of Ross Mortgage. All right, put this in perspective, and guys, we'll talk markets here, but put it in perspective a little bit more about the business. How many units a year? How many houses a year? Walk us through how you manage the pandemic, how you manage the volatility of cost of goods, labor shortages,
Yeah,
all
lumber.
that. Lumber. I mean,
yeah.
show is yours on all those topics, anywhere
Yeah.
you want to go.
So I need to make a list of all the things.
Yeah, I know.
Hit me, what was the first thing that you said?
Well, how many units a year?
Yeah, so we crossed the finish line last year in the calendar year of 10 units last year.
That's fantastic.
That's good. And then we've got about a dozen projects in the pipeline right now, including a very large condo, large for us, probably not large
Yes.
for some
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
But we've got a
We have our first
29 unit condo
multifamily.
project in the pipeline now.
That's awesome.
So you count that condo project as one?
Yes.
That's one, yes, sir.
That's a huge project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
29 condos.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you
That's
so
huge.
much. Appreciate
Thanks.
That is huge.
Thanks.
So that's kind of the size of what we were doing. Not small, not big, somewhere in between.
How do you characterize the last few years?
Well, it was wild, right? So we had,
Chaos.
Serenity now.
Yeah,
Serenity
it
now.
was real wild. It's when the pandemic first hit, we had a couple projects that we had just put out as spec homes. Some of what we do is spec building, of course, which spec is short for speculation, which a lot of people don't know what that means. They just think spec is a dirty word in real estate that means there are bad people out there doing bad things, which is not at all what it is. It means you're building something completely, listing it for sale, speculating as to what the market wants to pay for that. Anyways, so some of what we do is that, probably about 10-20%. So we had some spec homes we had released to the market right before the pandemic came in, and then, of course, everything came to a complete screeching halt at first. And
You
so
guys
we're
remember
like-
when people didn't want to do showings.
Yeah.
That's when we listed these two properties.
And so we're like,
we typically are all in, so we take everything and risk it.
But that was a very much, we talked about it on the show quite a bit. That was a pretty sharp V, right? It started, went to the
Yep.
bottom, and shot right
Yep.
back,
Yep.
right back up.
Yep.
So that's what happened. So at first we were like, oh no, are we down for the count? What's going to happen? And then the next thing you know, it came in gangbusters, and then it was just complete madness, for a couple years of trying to stay ahead of it, trying to get what you need, trying to be able to, keep customers happy. Obviously, one of the biggest struggles was just dealing with the cost increases that were happening, because I would say, and you can tell me what you think, but probably some of the most incredible cost increases that the industry has seen in a certain period of time that were experienced. There was a 20% cost increase that was happening. So for a builder who does a lot of fixed fee builds, which is what we do, you can imagine the complexities that came along with that.
Yeah.
So you don't have an escalation clause in your contract?
Well, you do now. I bet you do now.
Yeah, so, that's a really gray area, right? Figuring out how you're going to do an escalation clause with clients, because part of it is, part of what we want to do with our clients is create what we call a safe contract for them. We want happy customers at the end of the construction process, and if you beat them up with price stuff, you're not going to have that. But then the other part of it is,
You also have to have a company.
You have to make a living. If you don't
Right.
make a living, literally, if builders don't make a living, no more houses get built, right?
Yeah,
So trying to figure out the in between.
And it's a delicate thing. I come from this world, and
Yeah.
I've been excited about today because I can get to geek out a little bit on new construction. But it's a double-edged sword, right? Because, yes, you don't want to kind of nickel and dime the client to death, but on the other hand, they want you to show up a year after they finish
Yes.
the home to go ahead and do
Yeah,
the
yeah,
punch
yeah.
list.
Right.
So there's a delicate balance there that you have to navigate
Yeah.
through it. So talk about your sales process. Right, I'm a real estate agent. I'm not allowed to say the word realtor because I can't say it because I'm a Yankee and
You did a pretty good job.
That,
right
that was
there.
pretty good.
Really?
Yeah.
You threw an extra. In
I'm
there,
getting
but-
all the
Was
positive
it Pam
vibes.
Dent or Donna
Getting all
Patton
the
that was giving you a hard
positive
time?
vibes.
Donna Patton.
No, so my wife, Mrs. Smith, Yona, beats
We
that
should have
into
had her
me
on,
a
too.
daily basis.
Bring
We'll
her
have to
on.
have her on.
No.
She's not coming. She didn't want to come.
Yeah.
I could learn from her.
Yeah.
I could learn.
Commit Yona to a show now on air.
See, Real Talk Keith Smith.
Yeah.
I get the because I'll sit there, you'll sit there, she will sit there, and between Jerry and you two, I won't have a darn
Oh, okay.
on that end of it.
I got
But
you.
talk about your process, right? I'm a real estate agent. I've got a client that wants to do a custom build because that's what we're talking about. I don't have a piece of land. What's my next step with you guys?
Or let's say they do have a piece of land.
Okay.
So what is the two differences between someone who comes to you with nothing but an idea and then someone who says, hey, I've got 5 acres of property. What does this look like moving forward?
Sure. So one of the unique things about us as a builder is we say, hey, we're kind of an in-between the production builder and the 100% full custom. So we've coined a phrase that we call hybrid custom building, which is similar to maybe semi-custom. So our approach is a little bit different from a lot of the people that you see out there. You have the full production builders, would typically they're mass producing. They'll give people maybe a few options at the end when they're about to wrap things up and get them in there. And they can make, very limited choices. And then on the other end, you have 100% full custom. So 100% full custom is obviously oftentimes you have a kind of a loose fitting contract, maybe it's cost plus, and you make, some decisions in advance, you get your blueprints, but you maybe don't nail down your specifications completely. Maybe there's lots of things that you're deciding to choose as you go. And then what'll happen, obviously, when you have that is that a builder needs to know by the end of the day on Monday what type of windows, and their clients are at work and everybody's stressed out. So it's just a very stressful situation. So we said, what's the best of both worlds? So what we try to do is nail down in advance specifications, use our model homes as templates, work with our clients to modify them, figure out something that'll work. Part of our process is, one of the most complicated things for people is figuring out, can I afford this? What can I afford? And so on our website, inspiredhomebuilding.com, we have a standard package, and we say, hey, for this standard package, we have a standard market rate. We reserve the right to change that based on changes in the marketplace.
Right.
But come
That
to us,
20% you've been talking
right?
about.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
come to us, and we can say what that is now. And so what we've done is kind of developed a per square foot price for our model homes between 1,600 and 2,500 square feet, and say, this is our price for this package for these, for these homes in this size. And then we can work and make reasonable modifications to you, with you, depending on what you're looking for. And so what happens then, now you have you know, you have some pricing information you can work with. Now you can look at the market. You can get your Zillow app out on your phone. You can, you know, get your realtor that you trust involved, and you can go out and start, you know, hunting for land that makes sense to put your numbers together. So let's say you went to Scott and said, hey, Scott, what can I get pre-approved for new construction? You know, Scott's going to be able to work up what your all-in budget is, and now you've got numbers from us that you can work with, and now you can Zillow app and see what land is available where. Maybe your dream is to have 10, 15 acres out in Madison County, Virginia, where you can have a farmette, and you can have some chickens, and you can,
Because the cost of eggs, right?
Because the cost of eggs.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you want some goats, whatever you want, and now you can say, hey, now your dream of having something like that, you have numbers that you can work with, and so that's kind of the approach we have.
So I've been doing this for 3.5 decades. That's probably the best
I was just
explanation
literally gonna
I've
say that.
ever
Yeah.
heard for that line of work.
That was fantastic. I was literally
gotta
just
tell
going to
you,
say that.
that was outstanding.
Thank you so much.
That was succinct and very clear, and I have to give them props as well. Thought that was absolutely fantastic.
So often I have people who jump into the process who have no idea where to begin or where to start, and they have a much more custom idea of what they want. And then when you ask questions like, well, have you spoken to an architect? Do you have a builder who's built a house similar to what you're describing? Because if you don't have plans, and no one, you know, you're describing this very fanciful thing to me with an art studio upstairs of a, you know, whatever of your yoga place, and like who's accounting for this? Like,
Scott has chickens.
the waste and trying
too.
to like come up with
We
what
the
you're
only people
doing.
that
A lot
have
of times they just don't. So what I like to do is direct them to a builder and say, hey, please go look at this website. Look at what these houses look like and see if that's comparable to what you're trying to do, so we can get an idea of how to help you to begin with.
Right.
But the approach that you're taking, again, just geeking out on it, where, hey, this is our floor plan, we're allowed to modify it a little bit. I'm assuming you got some in-house drafting capabilities.
We do. We have a fantastic third-party drafter named Design Options in Culpeper. It's no secret.
Got
They
it.
have all of our files on hand. We have a close partnership with them. One of the special things is they're willing to modify our plans on an hourly basis. You can see their pricing on their website, but when they work with us with our plans, it's hourly. So typically, minor modifications around $500. Full modified plan, maybe 1,000-ish,
Yeah.
and that's for building office-ready blueprints. A lot of people see plans online for $700 and don't realize they will never get through the Culpeper County Building
Yeah.
Office. And so,
Yeah.
They're a great picture, but
Right.
that's about it.
Yeah,
That's-
and then you have to
that's
take
about it.
those and get them redrawn. And so that's an investment, and that's a huge part. And that's kind of like what we wanted to, not that we had an agenda, but kind of educate all the viewers, because we get so many times where people have this, you know, their dream. And it's not that we want to squelch your dream. We
it's
just,
the opposite of that.
right, we want you to get there. We want you to get to that finish line. But the thing is, it's the bad B word, and that's budget.
Budget
Right.
word.
You know, we all have the budget,
I thought you were
right?
thinking something.
Or builder, you know, whatever.
And that's not what I'm saying. But you're 100% right. It's particularly from somebody on my side of the table who's on the real estate side. And I'm a bit of a unique animal because I understand
Yes.
both worlds on it. But to have a basic layout, okay, now let's go look for the lot. Now, in our marketplace, that's a little difficult. In your marketplace,
Right.
is finding lots easy, hard?
Not right now.
It's never easy to find the land. That's one of the biggest challenges, no question about it. But so what we try to do is, and we tell people, like, we can't come out and visit every lot with you.
Sure.
Maybe you can, you're the realtor. No. But he's about like, DJ, we're going to kick you off the show. But what we do instead, we try
Jake
to...
McNamara just raised his hand. He said, I can. I
Yeah,
can. He just
Jake
literally
can
put it
do
in the
it.
feed right here. Jake's Hustle and Business in the feed. Rachel Schultz has given you some props as well, guys.
Oh,
That's my sisters.
Well, not
Yeah.
to mention the unique problems that people don't see when they start picking out land. Like, let's say they've picked out land, but it's at the back of an existing private road. So then, in order to do whatever they want to do to make it work, they have to then get that entrance up to current DOT standards, to where then they must have braking distance and line of sight and all of these things, to where they could find a property that they maybe think works, but then all of a sudden their expenses start to balloon again, and we're back to a budget
right.
problem.
Well, just like the length of your driveway, or if there's any
Running
water.
power.
Exactly, power.
Which
oh,
is getting more expensive.
It is.
Rappahannock Electric just increased costs.
yes.
So one of the things I've always recommend to clients, and I'm actually helping two custom clients at the moment. One of them bought the lot on their own without, using a real estate agent. The other one, we're working on a land contract first. The first one didn't do a study period.
Oh.
We're doing a study period. The other one, we're finding out on the first one, retaining walls are a problem, site
Yeah.
conditions are a problem
Right.
on that end of it, and the budget's just getting way out of line. So one of the things we always recommend is, kind of work a little bit in tandem with the builder, right, is to do a land contract, put a study period in it, 30 days, say, okay, let's figure out if this is going to work, right, before we start buying land. And then all of a sudden, you now need to figure out how to put a house on
Yeah.
this land, and then you have the B word show up, and people's head go, oh my God. They used to have hair, and then they don't have hair, that kind of thing.
It's
Yeah.
all the things that people can't see or don't know to ask that can become problems.
Exactly.
And that's the whole purpose of having trusted advisors to begin with.
Exactly.
Why don't we do this, and we'll cut this into what we call a sizzle reel, a shorter clip from the show to educate the audience. How does this supply chain work together? Realtor, financing, hybrid, custom builder.
Sure.
Like, give us the timeline of what goes down. Maybe we start with you guys, then Scott and Keith, and we'll cut this into a clip later today. Give us the timeline.
So 100%, the first thing every time is to learn your buying power. Start with Scott. You have to go to Scott. Number one, you've got to figure out what your buying power is, because if you don't know what your buying power is, you're just wasting your time.
Yeah.
So start with that, and then I think it's also important to talk to your builder. Secondly, to figure out kind of what building numbers roundabout should look like, and now you can talk to your realtor and start looking for hunting for land. I mean, that'd be
Yeah,
my...
and we encourage everyone that comes to us to shop, because it's just like, I know we joke about marriage, but not every relationship is meant to be together, and there's different styles of building, there's different relationships, and so really, not just look at the financial component, while that is important, but also do you see this as a starter home? Do you see this as your forever home? And those sorts of questions that are like, you know what, I want to live in this home for at least 15 years, and I want to be able to have these customizations versus maybe I want a production builder and just want to change my wall color, or those sorts of things, because that's about our clients. We're serving our clients in that way, and obviously involving a real estate agent is important in the dynamic of the relationship as well. And you guys are great for kind of like smoothing out any bumps in the road and maintaining that diplomatic relationship amongst lots of emotions. It's an emotional and huge investment. And
Some people's
recognizing
largest
that,
investment building
yeah,
long-term
and there's
investment.
lots of feels along the way. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it starts with the emotion of what does your plan look like, and then when they realize that maybe they don't have a plan, they just have an idea. How have rates affected what you can afford versus what you thought you could afford prior 2 years ago? So all of these things take effect when helping them make a decision. And the first thing that we're going to do is create a budget based off what you actually qualify for, where you want your monthly payment to be, and then what sort of number that equates to in the type of house that you want. So while I might not encourage them to shop, I want to say then, have you taken a look at their existing floor plans without making any changes in order to help get you into the number if you like what the product that they create? And that to me is the ultimate goal, is to, if what they want is to be in an Inspired Homes home, or whomever the builder or referral source is, have we explored all the options to make sure that they don't have something else that can solve this problem for you?
So I'm going to condense all that into one quick little soundbite here. DJ, spot on. First, figure out what you can afford, without a doubt. Otherwise, we're not setting the proper expectations across the board. Angela's 100% right. I always counsel folks on new construction that, at the end of the day, with all due respect, Inspire, whoever your competition, you're kind of going to build the same thing at around the same price.
Right.
Relationships matter. It's the relationship that matters, that when there is something that goes sideways, whatever that might be,
Right.
Scott's around to help. Your team's around to
Yep.
help. My team's around to help to put together the trusted advisors that get you to the finish end. And more importantly, we're all going to be here after the closing.
Right.
We're all going to be after you move in to help you when that toilet doesn't quite flush right, or there's a little issue, and we usually get the call first. Say, did you call Inspire? No, but what should I do? Well, let's call Inspire first and follow their processes and then move forward. But you guys are spot on. Figure out what you can afford realistically, and then establish the right relationships.
Yep.
Then after that, everything will fall
Yep.
in place.
Yep.
Christine Hutzell, giving you guys some props. Nate Clancy, welcome to the program. You got Marty Walters giving you guys some props right now. I see
Nice.
Madison, Culpeper, much of Northern Virginia, Richmond, Lynchburg, Southwestern Virginia on the feed, Waynesboro on the feed. Guys, put in perspective the Culpeper and the Madison markets. I mean, it sounds like you guys are booming. Are the affordability issues that are undoubtedly strapping Charlottesville and Albemarle County, are they tailwinds and positive momentum for Culpeper and Madison? Is that what we're seeing here?
Culpeper's a growing area. I mean, what it is, I think a lot of, there's Northern Virginia sprawl undoubtedly happening. People are looking at, do I want to stay in Alexandria in this mess or find something a little bit better where I can commute or telework? And Culpeper has been a great spot for that. Culpeper is rated nationally as one of the best small towns in the country. So, the interest in Culpeper just seems to only increase. So
Yeah.
I think it's on fire.
Yeah, there's challenges with, helping clients find land, and that's part of the emotional component with building, especially clients that want to see this as kind of more of a forever move or at least long-term move. So the demographic that we seem to capture is actually kind of our demographic. So, families that have children, and maybe looking to stay there for a good 10 years.
We're downsizers, a lot of them.
Yeah, and also too downsizers, the flip of that, so the retiree age, and they want all one living.
What are you
And
looking at me when you're saying that?
Downsize. You don't need all those extra rooms anymore.
Amen to that.
but with Culpeper particularly, the price of land is really the
Just as you guys
hardest.
were talking, I just pulled up on the MLS
Yeah.
what's available in Culpeper,
Yeah.
and it's really all over the map. It ranges from 128 acres for $500,000 all the way all over. But a 5 to 10 acre lot, what is that going to cost me? You think in the Culpeper?
$125
125.
Yep.
For a 5-acre lot?
Yep.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
ish, depending on exactly.
Ish.
Yeah.
All the-
Yeah.
I understand
Yeah.
ish.
And 5 acres in Albemarle County, Keith?
I didn't want to look.
I mean, what are you sniffing $1 million, depending on where it's at?
We'll find out because we'll let this tell us.
Yeah.
But it's not $125,000.
Yeah.
I can assure you that.
Culpeper, as far as the zoning regulations, that they may be looking at some of those adjustments to kind of accommodate the supply, but we're not sure. At this point, Culpeper's, requirements for like road frontage and things like that when it's zoned agriculture, that is huge regarding whether or not you can build a house on it and what the cost would be. Yeah.
If I may add, just circle back around just for a second too. So something Keith was talking about when it comes to land, this is really important because people they're intimidated by the whole trying to find land thing. So what I encourage everybody to do is look at it as an adventure and really treat it as an adventure. Get the Zillow app on your phone, see what's available in your price range that seems to make sense, and get out there. And from the road, whether or not you decide to trespass, I don't that no. But I mean, people that are
We do not.
we do not encourage
We're
trespass.
not.
But people that are selling land, I've yet to hear anyone say, "Get off my property." So,
Right.
But that said, this is really helpful.
So there's a lady in Rixieville, no, not Rixieville, behind Riva, that had some land, and I drove back there. This is probably 5-7 years ago, and literally. When pulling out of the driveway was like tailgated all the way to Riva Market and like screaming about like driving down her driveway.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, well,
for
you
sale.
kind of made it. Yeah, exactly. You made the decision that I would not buy this and make you my neighbor, even though she was the
Yeah.
one dividing the land to sell. Yeah.
There's some rural areas around here where I keep my mouth shut because as soon as my Yankee accent comes out, I'm in trouble. About 250 is what a
Wow.
5 to 10 acre.
Yeah.
Wow,
if
really?
if you can even find it.
Is
It's
that
very-
right?
250.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in Albemarle is that?
Blah 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 blah
Are
blah.
you talking Esmont?
Talking where my accent won't won't let me go. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
you know, that kind of
Yeah.
Nelson County, Schuyler, and it's
Okay, but not Albemarle County.
no, this is Almar. Schuyler is in part of Schuyler's
Is in Albemarle.
in Almar County, part of it's in there.
Okay,
So.
okay. Family giving you some props here. Carlene giving you some love. Is that your mom?
That's my grandmother.
Your grandma, she's watching and giving you some props as we speak. Jamie Turner's watching the show. He lives in Culpeper. He says their houses, Scott, Jerry, and Keith, literally break the internet when they drop the pics. You guys have a good one on the show with these two. Thank you, Jamie Turner, for giving
Thanks, Jamie.
props. You guys know Jamie Turner? He's giving you
Yeah.
guys some props?
Yeah, thank you so much.
So more questions are coming in here. We didn't get to how volatile cost of goods got during the
Oh,
pandemic.
yes.
Multiple folks are asking about that and how you navigated that song and dance. I mean, the lumber was obscenely out of
Oh,
control.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I lost a lot of money on lumber because I didn't have an escalation clause. We have included since then an escalation clause for lumber alone. We'll say,
Yeah.
hey, this is a lumber package in our contract that we believe is a safe number. It's really safe right now because lumber's dipped way down. But we say this is just so that we can stay in business number.
But it goes two ways, though.
Yes.
exactly.
Right, and that's
Yeah.
something to get out
Right.
with
Yeah.
that. And
Right.
and you know, back in the day when I was building, drywall was the big thing that was going up and down. And you would put an escalation clause. You say, okay, here's my drywall budget. If it's 5% over,
Exactly.
you guys, if
Yeah.
it's 5% over, you get it. You know, you get a
Yeah.
credit.
Yeah.
You get a credit back. I have found as long as those expectations are clearly defined and shared with others, it generally really isn't.
Yeah.
Isn't a problem.
I'm curious from like a lending standpoint, Scott, because we've always talked about that. Because when lumber went crazy high, and you know we're like,
And you get budget busters. Can you call, the lumber? That's
yeah.
the issue.
So
That's
how
the
does that
sticky
work
part.
from a lending standpoint?
So-
Like we're like, sorry, or does it just do we stop construction?
So there's typically between a 10 and 20% room for adjustment there. Now, if the borrower doesn't qualify,
Then
Right.
the
that's a
issue,
separate
yeah.
problem.
Yeah. Right.
But
yeah.
the adjustment can be made as long as it's in the contract to begin with.
Okay.
If it's not in the contract, then you've got to.
Then you got it.
Gotcha.
But the buyer must qualify, right? And
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes 10% can make,
Yeah.
make
yeah.
Can make or break,
Yeah.
Well,
right.
it's not 10% on one item,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
so what's
But
a-
at the same time, lumber can be a pretty big item.
I was about to say what's your normal lumber package?
So the lumber, and this is what people don't realize, lumber only represents typically about 10% of the
Yeah.
total cost to build.
Yeah.
And so people are always hung up like, well, lumber's high, should I wait to build? I'm like, literally, that number in and of itself isn't moving your big picture number
What's your
very
number
much.
one? I know the answer, but what's your number one expense? Which contract?
Concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the second?
Excavation.
There you go.
Yeah.
And usually they flip
Yes.
sometimes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Depending
And then
on,
also the lot,
depending on the
what-
lot.
mhm.
Sometimes the excavation,
Yeah.
but those are the two biggest
Yep.
expenses.
Yep.
And generally lumber, even though it makes the house, what they see going vertical,
Mm-hmm.
is not the biggest percentage.
That's right.
Yeah.
Kelsey watching the program, she says, what's the normal timeline for plans to us getting to be able to move into the house? And more comments are coming in that we'll get to, including one from, and you might have to help me with this person's last name, Vincent Cucciarini.
Yeah, that's her
Vincent
brother.
Cuccarini, that's my brother.
Look at that. He's giving you some props right here,
All right.
talking about chicken coops on the feed here. Chickens come up on this show all the damn time here. Literally every Wednesday, the chickens come up. First, Kelsey's question: the turnaround from contract to move in.
That's a great question. Obviously, a question we get on the regular. So, this is what we tell people. Typically, we break it down and say there's
Don't worry, about 2 more weeks.
No. Okay, I'm going to stop you right there.
A lot of those.
No.
So we say there's the planning
He
stage
just
of
got
construction.
everybody in a little bit of trouble.
We
It's
say
my
that-
favorite joke.
Yeah, favorite, 2 more weeks. So there's the planning. This is really important. We try to about expectation setting.
Sure.
There's the planning stage of construction and the construction stage of
Right.
construction. And we really are trying to do more and more of defining those two areas, keeping them separate, right? So planning stage, we say, can range 3 to 6 months. A lot of that has to do with how motivated the buyers are and how involved, how much time they have to work through the details of the contract, get to the finish line on the contract. Part of that has to do with which building office you're going to be dealing with. Some of the counties, require civil engineering. Most of the counties we work in do not. So those are important factors. But once you get your blueprints and you get your funding from your lender, and we've gotten everything done, and we go all the way to the building office and apply for a building permit, even at that point, building offices range in terms of how quickly they'll
Right.
process your permit.
Permit.
Culpeper has literally ranged anywhere from 1 week to 2 months, and you have no idea because it depends on their staffing and on and on and on.
Right.
That's a difficult thing thing to explain
It
to a
is.
buyer that I can't start my delivery clock
Yep.
until I get that. And what about the septic permits? Are they?
Yeah. Oh, the wells.
Culpeper Health Department,
Well-
so that of course has to happen, that happens before you even go to the building office,
Yeah.
it's part of
Sure.
the planning stage.
Sure.
Culpeper Health Department's typically ranging 1 to 2 months
Yeah.
to get everything through the health department.
So conceivably, from the time you have your set of plans,
Yep.
you've picked your lot,
Yep.
it's anywhere between 3 to 6 months from the time to get your septic permits,
Yep.
your
Yep.
building permits before you can put a bulldozer
Yep.
on the job site.
100% correct. And then,
Yep.
so then let's say you get your building permit, now you're off to the races. So from that point, we tell everybody, this is how we handle it. Every builder can handle it however they want to handle it. Our goal always is to be what we call transparent to a fault. That is our honest goal all the time. So what we tell people is, look, we cannot guarantee you a completion move-in date, because if we did that, we would be lying from the jump. We just can't guarantee that. But what we can do is tell you what our current average is. And so currently, our average from when we get a building permit pulled is about 9.5 months. That's our average. There are builders out there that claim to be faster. Some of them are telling the truth, maybe. So, anyways, that being said, 9.5 is our average. What we do for our clients is we say, look, our sales project manager, Brittany, who we mentioned to you, has a Gantt chart that shows how all the things are interconnected. So as we progress through the process, if you'd like to get an updated projected completion date, send an email to Brittany and say, hey, what are we tracking on right now? And she'll kick back, an updated projected completion date. And we tell everybody, please understand that it's a moving target. We have completed homes as quickly as 6 months in the past 12 months. We've had some that have taken 12 months.
Yeah.
Have you had any supply chain direct problems related to things, say like cabinets, windows, garage doors, appliances, that have slowed anything down?
Certain windows, black windows, which are all the trend and all the rage. Yeah, those were.
They were up to 19 weeks
Yes.
at one point. From
So
the
we
bottom of the
actually
year.
had to navigate that. We had people were like, look, if we could literally frame your house and it would sit for months because the windows wouldn't come in. And so, of course, no client wants to hear that. And we're like, okay, so we can get a jump and you can literally agree to buy these windows.
a different
with,
brand that would
Right.
come faster.
Right, but even like pre-closing, and we're like,
Oh,
you're
right.
you're agreeing to buy these windows if your house plans fall apart and we don't
still
build your
buying
house,
windows.
you're
You're
still
buying
buying these
windows.
windows
Buying
to kind of expedite that process.
But in that world, we're both Marines, you're constantly adapting and overcoming.
Yes.
Adapting and overcoming. Okay, great, I can't get my windows. How can we figure out a
Right.
way to move the project forward?
Right.
But at some point, it's going to have to come to a standstill,
Yeah.
right? You
Oh,
can't
yeah.
put your siding on until
Right,
your windows are in,
exactly,
Right?
yeah.
I
We
can't-
ran into it.
Yep.
And that's, but transparency is the way to do it. And again, I wrote it down, that's the second best answer I've ever heard about that. So you're knocking it out of the ballpark.
Thanks,
today.
Comments, guys, are flying here. You guys are popular folks. This one from Waynesboro, the mayor of Waynesboro, Kevin Yancey, watching the program here. How about this question on labor? Any difficulty finding labor or subs now? Has that improved at all?
We're not going to give our subs out,
I was
guys.
gonna say,
Oh, man.
it's
Oh,
like
man.
we
On
have
lock,
two boys.
on lock.
My wife and I have two boys that are under 5, and we have a babysitter. The babysitter's name
Yes,
does not go to the
it's
neighbors.
on lock.
It
Nope.
does not go to the neighbors. The babysitter's name. But how about labor? How's the labor market doing?
So there's forever a labor shortage, right? And that's part of the difficulty in building in general is finding good people at an affordable price to do the work. What happens, of course, as a builder over time is you develop your relationships that are in place with people that you know and trust, that you have agreements across the board with how you're going to do business. And literally we're at a place where our people just move from one of our jobs to the next job, and they know what's expected from us, and we have a positive relationship and love working with them. So
Yeah.
that's where we're at. I think if you need to fill a gap because something happened to one of them, now you're back to that challenge again. But
Right,
Yeah, once you find a good one,
exactly.
keep them.
Yep.
Exactly.
And you constantly make sure you keep them busy or the person busy to go moving, because once you get out of their cycle
Yeah.
and Keith grabs them,
someone else is going to grab them.
getting them back
Yes.
will be very, very
Yeah.
difficult. But
Yep.
this is back to this whole chain of what we do, these trusted advisors, starting with Scott and my side of the table and your side of the table and everybody through it. There's just a myriad of trusted advisors to get you to that finish line. And
Right.
I wrote this down. This is going to be a facetious question. You thinking about opening a shop here maybe? Yes?
Charlottesville, let's do it.
We've
We don't
been-
know exactly how we're going to grow right now.
Yeah.
We are Senator Culpeper, we try to keep it within a 60-minute
We have
drive.
four kiddos. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Age,
so-
what are the ages?
So almost 15. She'll be 15 in March, and then we
Okay.
have a 12-year-old, 9-year-old, and 5-year-old.
Okay.
So yeah.
That's the age
Now I know why
spectrum.
you don't have any hair.
Well, I started losing my hair when I was 18, believe it or not. Right after I started dating her.
Oh.
Listen,
DJ, you look sharp.
No, I'm getting in big trouble.
You look
It
sharp.
looks good on you.
I would be remiss not to highlight this viewer. Auntie C is watching in orange. Okay, Auntie C, put the comment that in
Oh,
the
that's your
comment section.
girl.
She's watching in
Auntie,
orange.
Auntie C, my hearing is like yours. I don't have hearing aids. He's telling me to get one.
Auntie C is watching. She wanted
Thanks,
to make
Auntie C.
sure that I highlighted that on the show for the viewers and listeners. Andre Xavier is watching the program. He's the travel and vacation entrepreneur here in Charlottesville.
Okay.
You've kind of highlighted this question, but I think it's worth highlighting again. How would you characterize your builds, he says? Custom, standard plus upgrades. You called it, I believe, hybrid custom home building. Is that what you called it?
Exactly, 100%. So
Yeah.
that's a term that I don't know if we coined it. I think we coined it. Maybe we did. Maybe
We
someone
made
else
it
has
up.
used it. But you got
Like that
hybrid
term.
cars out there. We're a hybrid custom builder.
I like it better than semi-custom.
I like
Yeah.
it.
It has
Yeah.
a better ring to it,
It
right?
rings much
We
better.
just have to explain it. We're like, what does that
I
mean?
may just steal that, by the way.
That one's good. Yeah.
So a couple things about our model homes. This is important to know. So with our model homes, we literally have poured ourselves into creating these model homes to be beautiful, to be comfortable, and to be able to be built affordable. What we find a lot of times, and since we have a per square foot pricing model, is that we'll have an 1,826 square foot model that people love called the Shiloh model that is more comfortable and more affordable and more spacious and more beautiful than another builder that has a 2,200 square foot model. And so anyways, we poured into these models, and then we've got a standard package on our website, inspiredhomebuilding.com, that we believe is more charming as a base package than most other builders have. And then we've got a listed upgrades called featured upgrades also on the website. These are things that a lot of people like, Generac generator, you want your lights to stay on when you get a snowstorm, which maybe we'll never have again, I don't know. But anyway, so
I put a whole house in it at my house. We'll never get snow again.
I was going to say that.
Just want to let you know. We'll never get
Okay,
snow
we're
again.
good.
But so I walk my client, I'm putting my real estate agent hat on. I walk my client into your model. We look at the website. We look at this model you're referring to. Is what I'm looking at the kind of the middle grade finishes in the house, or did you guys put the upgraded stuff? So do you need to have that conversation that this price doesn't include this, and this, or does your model represent your base package?
So our very first spec home was our model home, and so
our original model.
Our original model.
At that
So
point, we said everything included, and this is our standard package.
So
And then from there, we built lots of homes where we put tons of upgrades. So then we'll say, hey,
Yeah.
let's compare what we have on our website as our standard package to what you see in these pictures. And yes, you will find some upgrades in pictures.
I would say medium, yeah. So like if we upgrade on the siding, a lot of times people, although everyone wants the white, like there's a few people.
The white with the black window is super popular.
Yeah, there's
Well,
a few
it
people that want
changes. It
color.
used to be,
Yeah.
shag rug. I'm
Right.
not dating myself. That was a thing, right? But thank you for doing that, because if somebody that is walking clients through a model
Mm-hmm.
and they're thinking $1, but they're looking at $5.
Yeah.
It becomes very difficult. You have to really manage
Yeah,
that conversation.
yeah,
So the fact that when we walk somebody through your model, it's representative of what the base price is showing,
Well-
plus or minus, right? Close.
Depending
And
on which one you're walking through. We've recently completed one that we called the Holly Hill Farm Lane. And
That was kind of our
we
more
kinda-
upgraded.
We upgraded over and over again throughout that one,
But
case by case basis.
we list it we're cognizant of that. So if you're going to show a client that property, that upgraded model, we purposefully list it at a price where we're, okay, if we were to turn around and build
Got it,
this, it
got
would
it.
be that price, around that price, give or take, depending on what selections you pick.
So back in the day, they used to do, Home Builders Association used to do, parade of homes and stuff like that.
I knew that's where you were going with this.
And I apologize, I didn't shut off my hearing aids. The parade of homes, and the problem was the builders would do all that great stuff
Yeah.
because Ferguson said, I will give you this brand new tub
Yeah,
for free and
right.
all this stuff. And then, the prices were priced at the base model. So I like the fact that
Yeah.
you are listing the
Yeah.
model at, hey, if you're going to
Right.
buy this, it includes everything.
Right. Well, I mean, and it would be a disservice to our clients that we are currently building for, and they're like, hey, wait, you just listed this house for this price,
Yeah.
and you're charging me this, and so that doesn't seem, that would be kind of shooting our foot, you know.
Well, thank you
ourselves
for
in the
doing
foot.
that.
We got to highlight, speaking of family, cuz Tessa is here as well.
Oh,
Tessa Nicholson is
Hey,
giving you
Tessa.
guys some props. When the Moberlys come on the show, the family comes out to watch the
Yes!
program. I love that.
Bring 'em out.
Is it Drew Paul Hummus?
That's our
Hammis.
superintendent.
watching
Yay,
the
what's
program?
up, Drew?
Stephanie Minter giving you
Hold
some
it. How come he's
props.
not out working?
Get back to work, Drew. Get back to
I
work.
knew he was going to say that right there.
How come he's not working?
viewers
You're the
and-
one that's supposed to say that.
That's right.
Viewers and listeners, you can offer questions or give them some props just by putting it live in the comment section. Andre has a follow-up for you. What if we wanted a 4-bedroom house? How does that impact the process?
Yeah.
Great question. So, depending on the floor plan that you pick, it will be easier or harder to fit an extra bedroom. You know, again, we'll modify our floor plans. We do have floor plans with 4-bedroom, multiple, both Rambler and 2-story models. The only real change in terms of the cost outside of the square footage change is the fact that if you label a room a bedroom, now your drain field has to be reflective.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and how much price increase that turns into really depends on your soil. We've actually had, you know, every different property is very different for the soil. You can have a 5-bedroom on one property that is cheaper than a 3-bedroom on another property. So,
Right. Yeah.
there's a very
Yeah.
clear as mud answer. But
Well, and also too, you know, there's always, if you have a basement, you know, and you want to put another bedroom, depending on what the purpose is of the other, is it a guest room? Like you could finish a portion of your basement if you want to capture that without causing too much of a price increase. So we really, our goal is we want to help educate you and your options for your home that you are going to live in and enjoy. And so we in the budget that you're supposed to stay in. So all of that is things that we just want to help people realize.
So back to DJ was talking about septic and stuff, and I'm going to go back to the importance of getting study periods in
Yes.
a land contract, because one of them is also a soil study period.
Mm-hmm.
And when I counsel folks to buy land, if you think you're going to do a 3-bedroom house, why don't we test it for a 4-bedroom?
Right.
To make sure that the land will actually, because you never know, situation might change. You
Yeah.
might want to add an extra bedroom
Right.
into it, so your system is designed and built for that, so that you can expand it if you're having this conversation or you go to sell it. It becomes very useful when you're going to go to sell it, that, hey,
Yeah.
I'm set up for a 4-bedroom, is that the
Right.
3-bedroom? Quite often, it's the other way around. There's a 4-bedroom house on a 3-bedroom
Yeah.
septic
Yeah.
system, and that
Yeah.
becomes a whole issue
Yep.
into
Yep.
itself.
Yep.
How did the rising rates impact demand with your business? Did you see any step back in interest or demand with rates going up?
So once again, our goal is always transparency to a fault. That's just who we are. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you know, our phone isn't completely ringing off the hook this same time this year as it was this time last year. But we still have a steady stream of people that are contacting us.
Yeah.
They're interested in building. I'm talking to people almost on a daily basis who are interested. I mean, obviously, some people right now are going to be a little priced out of it where they wouldn't have been a year ago. That's just the fact of the matter right now. But that doesn't mean there aren't
Yeah.
people that
What are we at,
are
6.5, good credit on a 30 fix?
6.5. We're creeping up to 6.75 again.
So we're talking
Daily.
2x year over year, rates
Yeah.
jump, 2x plus.
But
Yeah.
again, and this is what's wild. 2 weeks ago, we were, I was quoting rates at 5.25, well qualified, no discount points, no nothing. So it's really all about what the message that's being delivered from the Fed and how the market's reacting to the inflation news. We got a mixed bag in yesterday's CPI, and because of that, we've got kind of a pretty flat market, a lot of unch on the board. So even though things are sitting unchanged, they're not really moving more positive or negative in one direction versus the other.
Good take right there from Scott. Let's cut that into a clip. And it's dated, so make sure that sizzle reel gets out today, please. Do we see rates moving higher? I know you don't have a crystal ball here. Inflation came in hot yesterday. CPI number was hot.
Was it hot or was it flat? Because I mean, it came in improved year over year, but 0.5% better, worse than what they expected it. Not as good as they expected it to be.
Yeah, that's fair.
And with that said, Goes back to exactly what I said to expect: volatility. It's going to be very volatile as we progress. And I think the bigger hangup is we get from where we get from 8 to 5, from 8 to 4, but how do they get from 4 to 2? That's where the big hangup's going to be. So
You might want to quantify 4 to 2.
8% inflation
Yeah.
to 4% inflation,
Yeah.
and they're trying to get to 2. So how can they move they can probably easily move the needle from 8 to 4.
Not to 2.
Can they move the needle from 4 to 2? And that's on inflation, not rates, mortgage rates. But that's going to be the problem.
So
There you go. That's a good mark right there. Go ahead, Keith.
up and down for sure. We all agree with that. Are you still standing firm that at the end of the year we're going to be sub 5 or somewhere around
Everybody
5?
at this table is listening very closely on
Yes,
this because we're all very excited.
No, no,
I firmly believe that if we get to 4% inflation,
Yeah.
we'll be at a 5%, give or take, kind of 30-year mortgage, 30-year fix.
I haven't looked at what's the 10-year yield today.
3.7
Well,
something.
let's throw this to DJ and Angela. Let's say we get down to below 5
Or right around 5.
or right around 5. Is that good for the market? What would that do? I mean, you're going to have a hell of a lot more buyers jumping into the mix here.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you guys have a little more flexibility or wiggle room in the Culpeper market with inventory and with land to buy.
I mean,
Albemarle and Charlottesville, you got nothing.
inventory is
You got nothing in Culpeper
tough
too?
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's just going to complicate the land problem that everybody's already experiencing.
There you go. So what happens in that scenario if we start dropping below 5? What do you think the impact of that's going to be?
Something we were talking about this on the way here. Like I'm like you. I don't really do much in terms of projections or crystal ball stuff because as much craziness and madness that we have all experienced. I'd say, look, I have really no clue how things will be impacted when rates drop. Obviously, the lower the better from a building point of view. I want people to be able to afford the homes we can build. So obviously, it'd be advantageous if they came down a little bit. but-
Yeah.
So if you have dirt, that's the first thing. You
Yes.
do,
That's right.
You
Yes.
gotta, everything always goes with the land, so you gotta
Right.
have land first. I think of my opinion on the resale side of things. When we start hitting 5, it's going to make it so much harder for the resale side.
Right.
New construction, very different story.
Explain
Yes.
that. Explain why.
Yes.
So as far as on our end of it, it's just there's going to be more buyers coming in, more buyers to buy it. New construction on that. Somebody who wants to do a new construction home, that extra point is going to make a huge difference on the amount of house. They've already made the commitment to go through the new construction process. As far as the resale side of things, it's just going to, I'm looking at the numbers right now on our footprint. 72 homes came on the market the last 7 days, 76 went pending. So it's pretty much on par.
Yeah.
So as fast as things are coming in,
Yeah.
fast as things going off, which is from the resale end, I think
Right.
when interest rates drop, that's just going to be more phonetic.
Well,
What?
how about we just call it crazy?
Crazy.
Yeah. Calls it crazy.
Every once in a while, I try to create a new word.
Yeah, I do too.
But I think on your end, on the
Yeah.
build side, I think it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah.
I really do, because you're going to have people
It's-
say, okay, now I'm ready to do this.
It's interesting too because we've gotten a few calls within the last month of people that have been renting.
Yeah.
And rent has gone up. And
rents keep climbing.
Now they're like, hey, do you have anything you're getting ready? Because we've kind of established a trend where people will see a sign and they're like, are you going to list this house? Like, especially if it gets a lot of traffic, if it's not already on the market. And so they're like, or is it for a client? Like that, those are the questions. Is this for a client or are you going to list it? Because I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it. And what do you think you're going to list it for? And so we've gotten calls and they're interested and when would the projection of when it will be completed because their lease, ending and if they need to look for another place to live to rent, but it's the rent right now, they want to buy. They're motivated to buy because they're like, I'm spending $2,000 a month in rent.
To that point, do you guys have specs that are in process at the moment?
Great question.
We only have one.
And it's getting ready to
Yeah.
cross the finish line, and we'll go live
Yeah.
on a listing with Mr. Jake McNamara here
Yeah.
pretty soon, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
And you will sell it very quickly.
Thank you.
You absolutely.
That question's come in from Grayson. Grayson, we love when you watch the show. Can your guests put in perspective the mindset of building a spec home and the courage it takes, the risk it takes, and the nerves they may be feeling through the process? That's a great
You're
question.
speaking to our
Yeah,
emotions.
so we, again, right now, spec building isn't a large percentage of what we do. It started off being like
The
our only
only
thing
thing.
that we did. So
Yep.
we've and part of that is just because the demand came in and we're just taking open doors as they come. But we love it. It's crazy. You've got to, I'm trying not to say things I shouldn't say it live. Keith probably knows he already knows.
So I'll tell my story. Those who watch, I lost $17 million
Yeah.
in
You say that
the
all.
Yeah.
last downturn, so I know
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But the risk reward is,
Right.
Is
You
there.
got to be a little crazy.
gotta be
Just a
willing to-
little bit
Thank you.
crazy.
Go in hard.
I mean, there's not a lot of, and I'll throw it back to you, there are not a lot of small builders in the area, local builders in the area, that are doing spec builds.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so giving you guys some props here. And we're all for more inventory, because
Yeah.
everyone in this studio is on this supply chain
Yeah.
in some capacity.
Sure.
So what's interesting too is for our specs, our personal specs, our goal has always been to try to make it better. So how can we do something different? You know, it's same basic model. Oh, maybe we'll attach the garage to this one and give it a mudroom and give, something different, a little different, because we don't want to be, and I don't want to offend anyone, like the cookie cutter. Like we are, but we're a little flair, something
A lot of
little.
flair. Not a little. A lot. Yeah.
But we want. That's what we want. That's our goal, and so we want to reach that market
But
that's unreached.
Let me speak to their question a little bit more. So I think this has been one of the most important things for us. So I'm a second generation builder, as I mentioned to you. So having the backing and support, I don't want to date you or anything, but my dad's 63.
it's okay, everybody does that around.
So so my dad's 60, and so he's had wealth of experience and knowledge, and so I could call him every day. But even outside of that, we've got some really close friends who built way more houses than us in Fredericksburg. One of which in particular, who I refer to as my mentor, D. Harding. So those are the Ironwood guys out
Yep,
there.
Ironwood
And
Homes.
D. Harding was also like my dad. He was willing for me to call him every single day. And so, unless you have people who are willing to basically be full-time consultants,
Mentors, having
it's something
a
that
good
you
mentor,
don't want to
yeah.
do.
Dad's got 3 years on me, but
Okay,
just
Yeah.
to get that out there. That's what we call them, trusted advisors and mentors. I'm really curious. You got me excited about the condo project. Talk about that.
Me too.
Virginia,
21 units in this project, right?
29,
29,
plus a management
wow.
office.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, you want to come to the name? The name
Go-
is
go for
Are
it.
you allowed
Do
to-
it.
allowed to-
Willow Grove, a condominium is
Yeah.
the name. It's going to be off of Virginia Avenue. So if you're in Culpeper in the center of town and you're going down Sperryville Pike, hang left from Virginia Ave, go down to the bottom of the dip on the left. And so, we've been, we came across this land. A realtor contacted us, Nolan Rigg, who's probably, he might be watching, who knows, but Nolan's awesome, helped us make the purchase. And we've just been going full on. It's a new, it's new territory. Residential building, has fewer requirements, as you know. So the civil engineering aspect of this.
just going through the state, like
the state
all
So
water
where are
state
you?
things.
So where are you in the approval process of it?
So the original submission to the town for civil engineering from Hinchy Baines, Marvin Hinchy, plug for him, who's amazing, has been completed. They've responded. Everything's been submitted to the state for the water stuff, DEQ, and so from what I understand, it's the black hole in terms of.
Department of Environmental Quality is a black
So,
hole. I recently helped a volunteer fire department build a new firehouse that took 9 months to get through DEQ.
Wow, yeah, we were
Not
told
to give you
8.
bad news.
But
Yeah.
no, he said from the jump is 5 to 7 months to get through there, and so everything's going through there. Getting full trade schematics is a new requirement that we had not been, never had to do with residential. You get your electrical sprinkler system installed is a new component for condominiums. It's all done. Blueprints are done. Even you have to have a condominium plat from your surveyor. So that's all getting done.
So you're going to rent them, sell them? What's the game plan?
Both.
That's
Gotta-
awesome.
Smart
Yeah.
move, right? Retain
Yeah.
some of it as rental.
Yeah.
Very,
Exactly.
very smart.
HO8,
HOA.
There
We had
is
to
an
create an
HOA.
HOA.
Yeah.
We have an
Oh,
attorney out of Williamsburg
that's fun.
specializes in
Yeah.
this.
So
We
you're
spent
gonna
like 4
hold-
hours on the phone with her.
You're going to hold and rent 15 of them?
So
Is that the plan?
There's 2 buildings. The first building has 12 units, including a management office. The second building has 18 units. So the first building is technically phase 1. We're hoping to build them all at the same time.
Phases if that's
So we're hoping to build them all at the same time, but the first building will go up first. And so the first building is the ones we're going to primarily sell. And then obviously, we'll try to hold on to the second building, 18 units, and rent those units out. That's our current plan. So.
Well,
I love this.
I congratulate you on your
Yeah.
diversity. 'Cause
Thank
diversification
you.
is the key
Yes.
in this business. So
Yes.
congratulations.
How's the mindset or the stress level or the emotions different with a project like this than building a home for a client? You maintain the relationship, but there is a clear-cut finish line here.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
It is.
That's a complicated question.
It is.
When it comes
don't know
to,
yet. No.
it's almost like, number one, every client's completely different, right? There are good ones and bad ones.
Sure.
We won't talk about it. Everyone knows who deals with customers, right? You have customers maybe that you just click with better than others. Customers that you're clicking with, you could work for them, forever.
And some people are a problem everywhere they're going.
yeah.
When they're done being a problem for you, they're going to go be a problem for somebody else.
So, great clients you can work for forever and never have any trouble, right? Big projects like this, we're obviously making very large investments
Right.
into the project. So that's where the anxiety would come from on that end.
I will encourage you to be very patient, keep a lot of patience. I gave a presentation, Ned Galloway and I gave a presentation to Nelson County Board of Supervisors, and I shared the normal thing that we talk a lot about, that 25% of new construction is due to regulatory expenses, and
Right.
you're experiencing
Yes.
that right now on that end of it. So I encourage you to be patient. It'll come around on it. The diversity in the way you do business is a genius move.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank
Thanks so
you.
much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
How's the business changed with you as the second generation owner?
Oh, what a great question. Getting some good questions. I love it. So, and I tell this to my dad, like literally, obviously, we would never have had this opportunity if it weren't for him. And
Sure.
I grew up, with him every day, coming home, hearing him vent about issues he's dealing with, all my life. And so now it's reversed because he's semi-retired, but I still call him every day, and he mostly laughs at me, but gives me input also. My dad was 100% custom builder, so that's kind of why we migrated to the hybrid custom model. So it's funny. I was on the phone with someone a couple days ago, and we were talking about the hybrid custom model. And I was like, part of it is because we have the planning stage of construction where we cross all the T's and dot all the I's. So your hardest job once we start building is to relax. And she said, yeah. I said, 100% custom builders, you're making a lot of decisions after the time starts ticking. We're driving you crazy. Sometimes you're driving us crazy, or whatever the case may
The
be.
change orders, not knowing that where all the waste is going to be all the time.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's so many there's unseens that
Unknowns.
Or
that through the process.
Light fixtures arrive and they're rusted because they set out
Which just happened to us.
in
Like
the
the
rain
containers.
and getting soaked and was delivered and now they
I
might not
cannot
have those
believe a
now.
supplier would do
and,
that.
And just the things that people have no idea. Or we got the brand new kitchen faucet, but there's a part not in the box, and now you got to contact the manufacturer to get the new
And
part,
that's
and
just
the
along
delays.
with-
So as I'm hearing you, there's a part of me that really misses doing this.
but it ain't
And
that.
I realize,
But this lady I was talking to, she started kind of laughing. She's like, "Yeah, my ex-husband was a custom builder, 100%." I was like, "Yeah, probably your ex-husband was stressed out to the max all the time," and so she just laughed, right? And so back to your original question. So that's why we pivoted to hybrid custom builder, and my dad 100%, supports and loves the way we've kind of shifted things.
so how young were you when you started banging nails, straightening them out on the job site? When did you start swinging a hammer?
So when I just got my driver's permit, I started working in an airport for the summer, and I'll spare you the story. I quit that job because, anyways, I went to my dad's job site, and he said, "Yeah, I'll put you up there." And literally, we were off to the races in the heat, 90 degrees in the summer, and Virginia's hot, and he had me doing all the things,
Taking
that
out
nobody else.
basements.
Paying your dues.
And,
Digging
yeah.
out
Paying dues.
historic
So that
homes, basements.
that makes you bring a perspective to the process that you actually know what it takes physically.
Yeah.
to go ahead and do that. I was much younger than that. My father made me straighten out nails when I was like 6 years old. You want to eat, son, straighten this thing out. So
Pull them out of the boards, reuse
pull
the
them out of the
boards.
board, reuse the board. Yeah.
Our youngest pretty much grew up on a job site. Like he was in tow.
5-year-old.
Yeah, the 5-year-old. Like
Which,
he.
on all the stuff, Jake McNamara had him actually unload a diaper on him one
Oh
time.
yes, yeah,
So-
one of our closings. Yeah. He had to hold Ivan, and
Yeah,
he
we're
totally
still
had a blowout.
Yeah,
But
sorry.
yeah.
So I have two daughters, one's 37 and one's 29, and they both know how to operate skid steers, track hose.
That's awesome.
Right? They know how to actually frame or
Yeah.
nail and all that kind of great stuff. So at some
great.
point, they'll have to support the old man. So we have to give them some skills.
Will there be a third generation?
That's a great, all these good questions, amazing questions.
Okay,
So,
follow up to
yeah,
that
yeah,
one, because my wife and I talk about this often with our boys. She works actively in our businesses as well. And we say, would we want our boys to take over one of the
Right.
businesses?
Yeah.
Would you want that?
100%, I would love
Yeah.
to see that. You know, we, pray about how to raise these children,
Mm-hmm.
which I say incorrectly all the time on purpose, but we want to draw out of them as parents where their giftings are. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We have no clue which
Yeah.
kid will end up going which way, but we would.
We ask them
absolutely welcome-
regularly though.
Yeah, and so we're trying to see, drafting? What do you
Yeah,
think of
our
drafting?
oldest,
And she's
'cause-
like, no, I want to do hair.
It's a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
The 15-year-old.
Yeah.
Yes.
So as the resident old dude at the table that's been through this already, what we did is we just let them be themselves,
Yeah.
right? And our youngest daughter and son-in-law is moving from Seattle back to Richmond, and she watches the show regularly with our new third grandchild.
Aw,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
Thank you. And she said the other day, I don't want to teach anymore. Let's talk about going into real estate.
Cool.
And we, you just got to
Yeah.
let them do their thing.
Yeah, yep.
And sometimes they'll come
Yep.
back.
Yep. And he can attest to that. He
Oh, no, I don't
swore
want nothing
to
to do with
his
Billy. That was the
dad. He
last
said,
thing I
"I
wanted
will.
to
I'm
do.
going to college
I'm gonna do
because I
something.
don't want to
And
do
that's what my
this."
dad was like. Don't swing a hammer, son. So, anyways.
So my father and grandfather are New York City firemen, right? So as if you know anything about cops and firemen, they always have second jobs, right? It was my family was always in the construction business, and I grew up that, and I swore to God I would never do it. Got out of the Marine Corps. Guess what I started doing?
Yep.
What
Yep.
you do?
That's
Started
right.
building houses.
Yep.
Katie
Yep.
Pearl watching the program, talented realtor herself for Keller Williams Alliance. Her husband, a active military serviceman. She says, my husband and I just went through the process of building a custom home. She's in the Whitehall district. She's the queen of Whitehall. And she said it was the worst year of our married life.
Oh.
We have a beautiful, gorgeous home, but it was brutal going through this
it
process.
is.
How do you guys, and you've already answered this extremely well, sounds like you guys communicate to the point of like the best communication possible.
We
You-
try, and I think
During the
that's-
planning stage of construction. So again, what I guarantee you, what made it super stressful was that they were making all these selections while construction was underway. So we start with a template and we say, here's our standard package, and here's kind of like it's a template. And how do you want to change it? So our goal is to reserve very few decisions for the construction process. There are a few which we have allowances for, which is the actual tile product, the actual flooring product, the appliances.
So I'm going to stop you there. So do me a favor, explain allowances for folks that may not
Sure.
understand how that works.
So allowances, when you have a fixed fee contract as opposed to a cost plus. So those are the two distinguishing things, which is important for people to understand. A lot of custom builders are cost plus, meaning they don't, whatever you spend, you're just adding a certain percentage. And we've done it once and we decided we're not doing it again. As opposed to fixed fee, which means we write a contract for you and this is the price with the exception of allowances. So an allowance says for this item, the most that you can spend is X amount. So if you say, hey, we have an allowance for plumbing fixtures, that's something that's part of, we talked earlier about how we divide and conquer per se.
Yeah.
She works with clients one-on-one to say, okay, here's your allowance budget for your fixtures. And, let's try to stay within that unless you want to blow that particular thing because that's really important to you
Yeah.
because you want a special whatever. But,
So I know all the ladies have Pinterest boards of their dream home and all the things, right? And so that's inevitably what we'll get. I want this, or they'll go through our website and they're like, I want this exact, faucet, or I want this mirror. And so, when it's from our pool of photos, I know exactly, okay, it's in budget because I bought it for our spec home and those things. But, when people want to customize and make things, they're like, well, I want this. And it's like, oh, well, that's a Kingston brass fixture and that's $200. And so that's going to blow the allowance if you're going to get 6 of these. So, okay, well, these are some options where you can achieve the same look. It's not going to be a Kingston brass, those sorts of things. But if you want that, then you're going to be paying more for it. And so the allowance factor is really, that's the budget we're working with, unless you're going to pay more.
So much like county and city budgets, does it go the other way, right? Does county budgets never go the other way?
Yeah.
Right.
I've never really seen allowances go the other way,
Yeah.
but sometimes it can happen.
Yeah.
So if I spend less money, do I get a credit?
That's a great question. So we decided, because we try to price our homes overall as competitive as we can, that basically allowances are what we call use it or lose it. So if you don't spend all of it, then you're not
Got
going to
it.
get credit for that. But consequently, people pretty much spend all of it.
Right.
which is
Some
fine.
things,
Yeah.
some things, we've been a little bit more flexible, like freestanding tubs is kind of a staple in our model home. And you don't have to have one, but, most people want them. So the freestanding tub, if it's $800 versus the allowance is $1,000, but you want this really nice tub filler, well, that's kind of like a package deal. So if you want to spend the extra $200 on your tub filler, then I'm willing to concede that sort of thing, or finishes.
But we honestly should, talk about transparent to a fault. So these
Yeah.
are things we can tweak up in our contract to say, these two allowances, we'll let them merge
Right,
together. So there's
right.
areas for growth that we can consider.
But like kitchen cabinet allowances and those sorts of things, it's you use it all or you don't get the difference.
How did 2008, 2009, 2010 influence or impact the business? Maybe the mindset, maybe a level of conservatism or fiscal responsibility with business.
Right.
How did that influence you guys?
That's a great question. So we actually weren't building houses at that time. We hadn't started building yet.
We built our house though.
Backdrop, we did build our own
Yes.
home with, actually my dad built
Yeah.
it. At that time, interestingly enough, part of what we also do, we also run a secondary business that is a real estate appraisal company.
Okay.
And so that is what I did only for 15 years until we started doing the other also. So different perspective going through all that as a real estate appraisal company. I mean, even from an appraisal point of view, when everything came in and turned upside down, we lost half of our business, overnight. And we had to rebuild our appraisal business, which, thank the Lord, we managed to do that.
Yeah.
Anyways. So
So I have a client that has a piece of property. We've determined that it's got a perk test with it because we're buying it. It's already been done for 4 bedrooms. I walk in with my client. From the time that I walk in, what is the expected delivery date? So if I walk in today, what are we looking at an expected delivery date? Is it 23? Is it 24? What are we looking at right now as an expectation?
for the delivery on a real estate appraisal?
No, I apologize. Custom home. I went
Oh,
back to building.
yeah. And so you're saying from the time you
I
get
walk
to the
in-
land,
No, we have a contract.
you have a contract.
That we know it perks.
Yeah.
Right? We know that the house is going to fit on it. We've done our due
Yeah.
diligence through
Yeah.
that portion of it. We may not have closed it yet, but
Yeah.
we're about ready to do it.
Yeah.
We're ready to sign a contract from that point
Yeah.
to delivery. What are we looking?
So what I tell people, I think a realistic time frame in people's minds, from that beginning part is like realistically moving that same time the following year.
Yeah.
I think that's just a realistic, thing for people. But my dad would always joke, and he would tell everybody. So I joke with people and tell them, "Hey, we're going to get you by Christmas. It probably
tell you
won't be
which one.
It won't be
Yeah.
this Christmas,
Yeah.
but it'll be by Christmas."
What's
That
interesting,
lines
Keith,
up right with my 2 week
yeah.
Exactly.
So, Keith, to speak to what you're asking too, it also depends on the client, how aggressive they are.
And also how well you cooperate
Yes.
and how the communication
Yes.
is happening between
So
everybody.
this is the conversation I wanted to
Yes.
have for folks to understand.
Right.
They do control that.
Yes.
There's some things you can't control.
Right.
Which is the permitting
Yes.
process.
Yeah. Yes.
But there's things you can control to help do that. But if I remember the conversation right, you're looking somewhere 3 to 6 months before I could have put a shovel in.
Yes.
And then about 8 to 12 months.
Yeah, so our
depending
goal,
on-
our personal goal is, yes, so from the time you're solid
Average
on
9.5
your land,
months.
it is, well, completely, a year,
So if I walk
Yeah.
with the client today, I'm looking at a 24
Yep.
completion.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, since being on the show, I've got a very well-qualified client. His realtors reached out and said they want to sit down and talk to you guys. about
awesome.
something.
We've actually had a
So,
couple people put that in the comment section that I tagged you guys in as well.
Oh, wow. thanks.
George Bowles may be reaching out to you.
Awesome.
or Jay.
Thank you,
That's
guys.
the gentleman
Thanks.
that interacted, said he needed to get in touch with you guys.
Perfect.
Maybe scooped up some business right here.
Awesome.
All right, why don't we do this? Because I know you have some perspective we want to get out on market conditions. Give that some thought here. I'd love to get some closing thoughts on you guys on the Culpeper market and why you guys are bullish and excited for the future
Mm-hmm.
of where you guys are working. So the show is yours on that topic.
Do you want to?
No, go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, listen, I mean, this is where I'd like to land, I guess, and this is what I tell everybody. So if you're interested in building because your dream is to be with your family on some land and farm it, chickens, and that's where you'd like to be, that's the vision you have.
Mini cows.
With some little beautiful cows. You know, this is what I tell everybody. If this is your goal, be a goal getter. So meet with Scott, figure out what your buying power is, and let's see how we can get there. Because I don't think anybody should plan their life around uncontrollable things. And I don't think you should sit back and wait for things to get better because they may not. We hope they will, but they may not. So,
Right.
you know, if your goal is to get out there, meet with Scott, figure out your buying power, at a minimum, you're learning what it would take to get where you want to be, and you'll never regret learning. So.
Yeah, yep.
Well said.
And you know, if you're on the fence, we talk about this frequently actually. If you're on the fence, whether you want to do custom or hybrid customizations, you know, I would almost encourage you to contact builders if you want to do custom route to figure out what that cost would be before you go to a drafter or an architect. Because it's the worst when we have clients that have invested thousands and
happens a lot.
thousands of dollars into custom home plans
That they can never afford to
and they
build.
can't afford it, or they have to go back and say, oh, I have to change this, and then pay
More
the
money.
architect more money.
Right.
And so
That's good advice.
yeah, and it's not clear, and that's the biggest part for us is like we want to educate people. You know, we have all of us professionals and experienced folks in the industry, and it's like this should be the process. Like this should be the process
When they
of
get to me
which a
first, that
person-
is the primary
Yes.
conversation of.
Yep.
That's when I say, please contact them. Look at what they're building, see what that costs, and then reach
Yes.
out to create a
Yep.
plan.
Yep.
So I'm literally doing that with 2 customers right now that went out, had not thousands of dollars, tens of thousands
Wow,
of dollars
yeah.
of custom architectural built, bought
Mm-hmm.
lots and went, oops. You know, in our marketplace, custom homes are running somewhere between $300 to $400 a square foot in this
Yeah,
marketplace.
yeah.
That doesn't include the land.
Right.
Right. And that math
We're
explodes.
less than that, by the way.
Excuse me?
We're less
He's
than
less
that.
than that.
Yeah, well, I was just about ready to
Yes,
ask. So,
yeah.
so your hybrid custom,
Yeah.
you know, ballpark square footage. I know builders don't like being asked that question. I hated it. But
Yeah.
what range are you currently in?
Yeah.
225, 230 a square foot
Yep.
There you go.
for our hybrid custom models.
That was
Yeah.
straight. That was a straight shot answer. Well done.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So that's the difference, right? So the hybrid custom is you're at that 220, 230.
Yep.
I'd imagine true custom in your market, it's probably similar to our numbers
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
$300 to $400
Right.
a square
Yeah.
foot. That's the difference.
Sure.
The website inspiredhomebuilding.com, I'm actually on it right now, and it's very, very communicative, very clear and succinct. I'm on the standard package page that clearly identifies everything that you get, so there's no confusion. I like this with what you guys have done. Scott Morris, my friend, what's on the mind over there?
So I think Keith brought it up when we started the show. The U.S. 10-year was at like 3.7. Now it's 3.8. And you know, I've kind of, I'll keep repeating this. As far as the Fed's concerned, the message they're going to be delivering is the beatings will continue until inflation improves. And right now, we're getting kind of a mixed bag, and we're volatile up. The market sentiment is everyone wants things to be better so bad that on the slightest inclination of good news, we get these huge swings downward. And I think we're going to get that again as soon as we have something that they can hang their hat on. But we're not there at the moment. So if 2 weeks ago you were quoted, right around 6%, and now you're being told at 6 3/4, that's just where the market's moved.
Good clarity right there. Thank you. Ross Mortgage guy, Scott Morris, branch manager of North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Nice.
Scott Morris is killing it right now. Keith Smith is the distinguished gentleman. He's always killing it.
No, stop it. But more.
Yeah,
but
you want some more?
But more. You can follow me around all
He's
day.
a realtor, Yes Realty Partners. He is a realtor. He does represent buyers and
I
sellers.
actually do work.
He works. Not only is he a talented broadcaster, but he is
stop
actually a
it.
realtor. One of the co-founders of Yes Realty Partners. You guys are absolutely amazing.
I personally want to thank you.
You guys are awesome.
This is a
Thank
great
you.
opportunity for me to geek out on construction. So I love it. I do miss it. I do miss it. I do miss it dearly, but not that much.
Angela and DJ,
Yes.
when you see them guys around town, give them some props for a job well done.
Thanks.
Judah Wickower is the director. The show is archived on realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. How about a sneak peek for Friday's show?
Yeah, Friday's going to be exciting. In my seat here will be Moselle Booker, chairman of the Fluvanna County Board of Supervisors, and in Scott's seat will be Chris Fairchild, again a Board of Supervisors of Fluvanna. We're going to talk all things Fluvanna County, and there will be beatings in my direction, I'm sure,
Especially for Fairchild.
From Fairchild that way. He's already started. I've been getting texts on that stuff. So we're looking forward to it. Friday, tune in if you want to know what's going on in Fluvanna County.
Thank you kindly for joining us, guys, on Real Talk with Keith Smith. The I Love Seamill show is up in approximately 54 minutes. We will catch you then. Take care.
Thanks, guys. That was a lot of fun. Thank you.
So much for
You'll
having
tell
us.
your
Really
financial
appreciate it.
offer in a second. Jobs well done all around.